Welcome to the Domesticated Bear. This is Skip, that's Prince, and today we're going to make some deodorant. So, the question you may be asking is, why would you make your own deodorant? I've been making my own deodorant for over a year and a half now. I've kind of refined the recipe as it were, and I like it because I know exactly what's in it, I know exactly what I'm putting on my body, and it works better for me than any deodorant that I've purchased over the years. It's a really simple base. And the active ingredients are pretty simple as well. I use a base of shea butter and coconut oil, as well as the binders and kind of odor controllers of cornstarch and good old baking soda. With that, we'll add a little bit of essential oils, but we'll go through the recipe real quick here and get that broken down for you.
Quick sidebar. One thing that always happens when I talk about this, people always assume that it won't work for them because they're just too whatever. Let me assure you, I do sweat. Let me assure you, my sweat stinks. I run warm as a person, so it happens a lot. This stuff works really, really well for me. The other thing, I forgot to thank my mom. My mom actually made me the first batch of this stuff that I used, and I've been making it ever since then. So, thanks, Mom. Back to your regular programming. For starters, I'm going to do 4 tablespoons of baking soda and 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. And this is both our binder, and also it is our kind of odor control. I have learned to run it through a sieve just to break up the clumps, and that makes it all go a lot smoother when you mix the oil in. For our 2 oils, we use 2 tablespoons of shea butter, which is a little bit firmer, which makes it really difficult to measure. So what I actually do is I'm going to put more than I need in this measuring cup, in this kind of microwave-safe glass, and I'm going to put that in the microwave. We'll actually pour it out and measure it when it's a liquid. It also makes it easier to mix into our dry ingredients. So that should be more than plenty right there. So that one's going to go in. So shea butter is always going to be solid. If it gets real cold, it gets really hard. Coconut oil, depending on the temperature of your room, make it really liquidy or maybe fairly solid. I try to kind of mix it up because sometimes it separates just a little bit in the jar. But we're going to put at least 3 tablespoons in here. I'm using a kind of regular, eating teaspoon, so I'm rounding up. But we're going to let that get liquidy too in the microwave, and that way we can measure out exactly what it is, because the ratio of oil to dry ingredients is pretty important. Okay, so we have our 2 oils that have been melted. This is the shea butter. You can see it's still kind of got some solids to it. I didn't really get it super, super hot. It did take a little longer than the coconut oil just because it's a more solid kind of plant fat. So it just takes a little more heat before it goes to that level. That's the whole point. It actually keeps the deodorant a little more solid. I used to make a version of this that was all coconut oil, and it could be very goopy and like it fluctuated liquid to solid consistency drastically because of temperature. This helps even that out a lot. This is kind of a recent addition and makes it much better to me, I think. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of the shea butter. So we'll be able to measure that. Now that it's liquidy, we can easily and accurately measure that out. So we've got 1, 2, and the rest of this that's in here, we don't want to waste that. We can just put it right back into the container. So there's 2 of those, and we're going to do 3 of the coconut oil. And this stuff I try to use, I would say food grade quality and all this stuff, because that way, again, I know what's going in it, what's going on me. And then really all we need to do now is mix it. I usually use a little spatula. I'm going to get in there and get it as kind of smooth out as possible. What you're doing right now is the oil and the cornstarch specifically kind of interact in a very specific way. They kind of balance each other out, and you want that right ratio to make this work right. Get some of those dry stuff down from the side. You want to make sure it's all integrated. You can see it looks kind of creamy, almost like frosting or icing. It probably would taste horrible. to this, just to kind of give it a little extra odor fighting power, you can use an essential oil that's good for antimicrobial qualities. I used to use tea tree oil. It can be really irritating to a lot of people's skin. I switched over to eucalyptus, which doesn't bother me. It's always test stuff out on you beforehand. The recipe usually calls for about up to 5 drops of anything, so I usually do like maybe 4 of that. If you're not sure, go easy on it, and you can always add a little bit more. And I do a little bit of lemongrass because I like the way that smells as well. And these I just got at like a health food, whole food type store. I use the kind again that are more for your person and your body, as opposed to like an aromatherapy diffuser. Those may not be really for kind of you. They might be just for the air. So that's it. It's all mixed up. I got a couple containers. These are like really baby food containers from the kitchen section. They work great for me. They have lids that screw on really tightly. I usually split it up into 2 things, so I can have, if I need one for somewhere else, I've got one for somewhere else. Or I just put one back in the cabinet for my kind of second batch. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna throw this in the fridge just long enough for it to set up. We don't want it to separate out while it's still liquidy. And I'm gonna go in when we're off camera and scrape out all that stuff because it's all good. But that's really it. So when I put this on, when I actually use this in real life, I have my last batch here. It comes out this kind of, it's almost like a lotiony consistency, maybe a little bit thicker. I would put that on, rub it in a little bit. You can see it goes away pretty darn quickly. And then to help that set, especially if I'm getting dressed in a hurry, if I don't have time for that really to kind of set, I'll take a little bit of baby powder. If you don't like the smell of baby powder, you could use just plain cornstarch. I don't rub that in. Clearly I do that on my armpits, not on my arm. But it helps it set so it's not going to rub off my clothes at all. I don't find that it stains my clothes anyway, but that way I just know it's not kind of building up over time. Also, if you really like the smell of baby powder, you could use baby powder instead of the cornstarch in the recipe, because that's what baby powder is. It's cornstarch with a little bit of scent. So, quick update. It's the next day. This stuff sat in the refrigerator overnight and on the counter to room temp during the day, and the consistency is like, it's great. It's a little bit soft, but it's not too mushy. It's not too hard. It's pretty great. So I'm really happy with this version of the recipe, and that's the final product right there. So that's really it. This batch will last me for probably 3 or 4 months, and it really goes a long way, which is great. It's very effective, and then I'll just make some more because it's really easy too. You can leave some comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll try to be back real soon.